What's going on, guys? Bexio, and today we had a brand new video, this time on Coinbase and Bitcoin and crypto in general, with some rule changes or regulations from certain governments that is looking a little not great for crypto. But we are seeing this in some countries around the world, and the example we're going to look at right now is Canada, their new regulation things and an email that Coinbase sent out to someone. But before we get into that, if you are not subscribed, make sure to smash that sub button because we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But let's jump right into this news because it is crazy what this is expecting to do. This is the email. You can see their update soon. Request additional information on certain sends of cryptocurrency and defining what that is. Saying right here, dear customer, starting on April 4th, Coinbase will introduce some changes required by Canadian regulations, specifically when you send crypto to another financial entity or money service business, such as another cryptocurrency exchange, and the transaction is 1,000 Canadian dollars or more. We are legally required to ask you for information about the recipient of that transaction, their name and address. So judging just based off of this email, maybe because it says sending to another financial entity or money service, that it doesn't include private wallets. I don't know how they're really gonna tell the difference and say that it's not a financial entity or money service, that it's a private wallet. Maybe they have some sort of way to figure that out or communicate with every single exchange on the planet. If it's not private wallets, it's less of a big problem. But then you talk about sending anything from a private wallet to an exchange. If you want to sell something at some point or sell a portion of something, then you might have to come in and say everything, who's sending the funds, all this information, which is more information needed than it is to get bank loans and mortgages and these types of things. So when people say crypto isn't regulated or Bitcoin's not regulated, it is more regulated than anything on the planet. Anything financially related, it is way more regulated than anything else. I mean, just think about this with your bank. When you send money from your bank account to another bank account, if it's whether it's one of your other bank accounts or somebody else that you're paying someone for, does the bank come to you and say, we're going to need the name, address, all the information on who owns this other bank account before we send it there? We got to know what's going on. They just send the money. That's what their job is. It's your money. You send it somewhere. So these regulations are crazy. It is just in Canada right now, which has been going absolutely ridiculously insane recently with a lot of things, but with crypto in specific, they're hating it because it's getting around all of their rules and wants to do whatever they want to do. So we'll see, where this goes, but hopefully this stops in Canada, or I think there's a couple other countries that are trying to do this, but let's hope the U.S. doesn't go down this road because the U.S. is in such big problems with the dollar system failing and collapsing. If they try and do this, they're basically guaranteeing that the US will be a nothing in the future instead of a superpower like it is now. And this is pretty massive news from this email because of how big Coinbase is, the second largest exchange in the world based off of volume. So they do $1.7 billion a day, and Binance is the only one ahead of them at $10 billion a day. Binance is massive. And then 24 million weekly visits. Coinbase is just under 3 million. It's not top two. It's probably still top five when it comes to weekly visits. So people coming to Coinbase exchange a week, but the number two exchange. That's why this is so massive. I mean, any exchange would have to do this, would have to go through the regulations of the government, but we can obviously Coinbase right here, and lots of people use Coinbase. I think this is just going to push people away from these exchanges, and it's not Coinbase's fault. It's not anything they want to do. It's government regulations trying to get in there and control things that they can't control. But it's not having any effect on the Bitcoin price, which looks really, really good. We're working on our fifth green daily candle in a row, breaking out of this wedge yet again, like we did yesterday, where we ran up bumped the 45K, got a little over 45K, but came back down into here and working on another push up yet again. We'll see if we break 45, basically 45.1, if we can break that and get above this. And then we basically go into a pretty big zone here up to 51,000. Maybe we see a massive move to 50K because that's the next benchmark and trying to get there. But it is good to see, people are hating this news. It's not stopping people from buying Bitcoin, though, and using Bitcoin. And eventually, these exchanges are just going to be pushed aside if they aren't allowed to, or if people feel like they're not allowed to do what they want to do with their own money. So they're eventually probably going to get replaced by something else. And the only people that are going to suffer is going to be a lot of things intertwined to the economy because these guys are public. They're on the stock market for at least the US and stuff. Like Coinbase is on the stock market. There's investors, there's everybody involved in this stuff. And Coinbase operates and holds Bitcoin and cryptos for other companies as custodians. So there's a lot of things that can happen that would be pretty negative to the overall entire market as a whole and the economy as a whole. But right now, not affecting the price at all. We're pushing over here, which might be because of a whale in the market. Whales in general are returning to the market, but there is one that is buying tons and tons of Bitcoin, and that is Terra, the stablecoin UST. They've bought over $1 billion of Bitcoin right now to back their stablecoin. So seeing backing the stablecoin with the Bitcoin standard, and they will continue buying billions more in the coming months. I think their plan is to buy $10 billion worth of Bitcoin to back their stablecoin and not like directly back it, because people always would say, wow, how can you back it with a volatile asset like Bitcoin? They're basically an algorithmic stablecoin. So the way it works is extremely complicated and burning and minting tokens to make sure that they keep the one-to-one peg for a stablecoin. But when there's a huge run on Terra and people want to get out and sell it for dollars, then they're going to have the backing of Bitcoin to make sure that that peg is going to stay one-to-one so that it doesn't drop below, because there's a lot of people selling Terra. Then you can break the algorithm and get into big problems there. So a backing, this is good for Bitcoin. There's people that don't like it, and maximalism and Bitcoin are gonna say they don't like it. Some people, but it's good for Bitcoin. It shows the utility of Bitcoin, the pristine collateral, that it is literally the best thing that you can have is backing something with Bitcoin, using the hardest money in the world, which is Bitcoin. So it's proving the Bitcoin standard can happen. It's proving the value of Bitcoin, and it's pushing the price of Bitcoin up. So Terra currently is the number one probably buyer of Bitcoin. I mean, I think the last couple of days they've been buying. A few days ago they bought $500 million, then $250 million, another $250 million. I think today, which makes them break that $1 billion mark, and they're only 10% of the way there. So small supply of Bitcoin left. There's not a lot of it on exchanges for sale. People are hodling. There's people who aren't whales, who aren't buying thousands of Bitcoins at a time. They're actually continuing to buy Bitcoin, continuing to store it away and just buy and hold. And there's no plans to sell. And we're coming up on a point where supply is low and demand could go up pretty quickly. And when that happens, we are going to have a big move up in price. It's going to be forced to be a move up because there's just nobody selling Bitcoin. If you want to buy it, you're going to have to bid higher in order to get it. But we are seeing these crypto regulations in other countries being a big problem. We're going to have to watch the US and see what the US does, because a lot of countries are going to follow what the US does with regulations, and hopefully they get it right, because if they don't, then the US itself could be in a very bad spot, seeing as how the dollar system is collapsing. So all eyes on the regulation. Canada seems to be getting it very, very wrong. It's pretty crazy, but we'll see what happens everywhere else. As always, everybody smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in my next